Welcome back to the bus. The era of living in this thing full-time is quickly coming to a close. I'm going to be getting an apartment here at the end of this week. We're going to hang on to this thing, however, but staying in it full-time in this parking lot next to a highway, well, that's going to be a thing of the past soon. So I figured what I'd do is outline an entire day, actually start filming before I get up in the morning, and explain everything that needs to happen. Now, it may sound like I'm complaining quite a bit, but that's actually not the case. I'm just explaining everything that's required to live in this thing, essentially. It's a giant metal heat sink. So without further ado, here is a day in the bus. Welcome to the morning, I think. It's, let's see, 11:30. Now, probably the first thing to do in the morning is around 6 or 7 a.m. I need to check the weather. And that's because if it's going to be really hot or really cold, I need to turn on the air conditioning in advance to get it pre-cooled in here. But looks like it's supposed to get up into the mid-80s or so today. So what we do in that case is we have to get the air conditioner turned on, which is right there. And hopefully, I remembered the night before I went to bed that I unplugged it from the generator cord and hooked it back to the grid. Today I did that. You can hear it's running, so that's good. Oh, the other thing too is check the security cameras. Make sure everything's good there, nothing too crazy going on. But a series of stuff we have to do. We have to turn off the grid input, turn off the battery charger for the bus chassis, turn off the house battery charger, and then check other things that may be on, like the outside ventilation. Then I'll usually turn on the overhead fan, which is that one right up there. And then usually turn off the lift blower and some other things. Then we can go into the application for the air conditioner, turn that thing on, then we're good. Then I can go back to sleep for a little bit if I want to, which I very clearly did because it's now 11:30 and I did that at about 6:30 this morning. Usually when I'm sleeping at night, I occasionally, if I hear a noise or something, I look up here at the security cameras. And I've got another security monitor up there. Then also, usually you have to keep track of the temperature inside and outside. So we've got a thing there for that. Then there's the chair charger right there. And you can see if that thing's cool. Then we have another temperature gauge right there. The idea is, depending on whatever position I'm laying in, on my side or on my back, I can actually see most of the things that I need to. There's a fan, in case it gets too hot. Yeah, the way I laid out most everything in here is when I'm laying in bed, I can keep an eye on most everything that's going on. I mean, obviously we can turn on Home Assistant and see everything from there. But without lifting a finger, I've got a bunch of the indicator lights and relay control boards and stuff down there. So I can just open my eyes and check the status of things. But yeah, for reasons, everything requires constant monitoring. And I mean, I can even, you probably can't see it, but right there, there's even a little voltage readout, so I can see what the grid's doing. That's why we've got the iPad hanging here. Next thing I usually like to do is check the events on the security cameras, just to see what's been going on. Looks like we had some stuff at 3:30 in the morning going on. Interesting. Anyways, I'm gonna have to investigate that and see what was going on. But now I think I'm awake enough. It's time to get into my chair. It's so annoying getting out of bed. Especially in this one, because this bed is just plywood and the mattress is propped up on bus seat cushions. Okay, enough complaining. I'm gonna get my chair and then I'll be back. Okay, I seem to be upright. Now, it's time for bathroom, meds, and coffee. I just threw a shirt on because reasons. Getting dressed is not normally till much later down the list. So, I'm gonna do those 3 things real quick, and then we'll see what's next. Okay. Now, usually, take a look outside. I've got this reflective, like, bubble wrap stuff that I put in the window to keep the heat and stuff under control, but let's take a peek out here. Yep. Wow. That is a very blue sky. Holy cow. Usually after I get up in the morning and the air conditioner is running, I have another air circulation fan back here, but I was reheating some leftovers last night and I had to use the toaster oven and I don't have enough outlets back there. So now I got to swap that outlet, or swap the cord in that outlet from the toaster oven to that thing so that we can get some air moving in here. Oh. Apparently I didn't turn on the light circuit yet. Go back here. There we go. Now we can turn this one on. Yay, there's light. So there's a 4-gang outlet back here. I wasn't planning on having it much. Well, actually, the thing that 4 outlets was enough until I got this water purifier thing. So, anyways, we've got our outlet with the Zigbee thing on here, so we'll get this plugged in. Okay, I think it's been a while since I made coffee on camera. It's the problem with mornings. I'm trying to get one of these cups out of here. I can't tell if they're stuck or if it's just morning and my hands don't work. There we go. Could be a little of both. I just realized getting back. Oh, hang on, I gotta move the camera. The fridge is gonna hit it. Yeah, what I was gonna say. Some coffee that I had made yesterday and I put in the fridge. This is just a McDonald's. Well, it came from McDonald's, but then I added my own coffee to it. So that saved us some energy. I'm just gonna throw some ice in there. But what I was gonna say was, once we get in this new apartment, I can finally start making my own cold brew again. It's not level in here. That's one of the other things that's gonna be really nice is this bus is downhill and kind of to one side. So if I drop something, I have to immediately start chasing it. So having a level place to live will be good. All right, let's get some ice in here. And the ice maker is still up here. Ta-da, ice maker. Is going to be coffee that can be consumed. Yay. First problem of the day, I guess. One of the security cameras seems to not be working. It is one that is solar powered and uses a battery though, so we should probably go investigate that. Turn this off in the meanwhile. Oh. I'm trying not to heave right now. This was an exceptionally bad idea. Even looking at it makes me want to hurl. Hang on. Okay. We need to continue what we were doing earlier and actually make some fresh coffee. It didn't leave a lot of room for ice. Once again, the reason I drink so much coffee is because the caffeine keeps me, in my particular situation, from having to use my rescue inhaler nearly as much. Okay, now, clean up this desk a little bit, but now I sign on to the YouTube channel and Twitter and check the emails and everything and see roughly how much needs to be done. Some days there are almost no messages, and some days there's like 30. So, and they kind of roll in throughout the day. So I'm gonna get everything logged in here and screw with that for a few minutes. Then we're gonna go outside and check on that security camera that's not working. Also, I leave my meds sitting right here in front of the keyboard so I don't forget to take them. I've got a little basket over here that those go in. Now, the other thing with living in this bus is when I go outside, I try to consolidate the number of trips I take out there, because while the wheelchair lift on this bus was designed for heavy use, I try to minimize the number of cycles that I put it through or whatever. I don't think I'm going anywhere today, so I just checked the weather again. It's only supposed to get up to 80 today. However, looking outside, the sun seems like it might be fairly strong. So I think what I'm gonna do, since I'm gonna go out there and check on that security camera, I'm also gonna set up the generator and we'll combine those trips. You can probably hear this thing rattling. That's what this piece of wood is for. The bus being parked at an angle means this thing is not level. So I have to jam this piece of wood in here. There we go. To put a little pressure on the casing of this thing to keep it from rattling as much. You may be wondering, why is everything so complicated? I've stayed in an RV or a travel trailer before and it's no big deal. Well, most of this complexity stems from the fact that I can't pull more than 1450 watts from the grid at any one time. So that makes things a little more challenging, and that's why a lot of this is so complicated. However, I've made it work for the last 3 years, so I've kind of figured it out at this point. Let's get our wheelchair lift deployed here. And grab my remotes. Then I need a second set of remotes here for the green van, since we're getting the generator while we're out here. One of the security cameras I have is in the back of this van, and I've been using this solar panel and one of these Anchor power bank things to run it. By the way, don't ever buy the Anchor power stores. They're horrible. But I was trying a bit of an experiment yesterday, which was seeing if the solar would keep the camera running while I left the feed live. So, solar panel's up there. It comes down into this thing. Let's see what our... yeah. So the solar yesterday, because this is only like a 5 or 10 watt panel or something. So we basically ran our thing completely dead. It just plugs in here with sort of a DC barrel jack arrangement. Once again, not explicitly designed for solar, but kind of works. So we're only getting 5 watts in right now. Oh, it just blinked back off. Let's unhook our camera. Okay, we're getting 5 watts input currently. Oh, 7 watts. Now, let's go ahead and leave our camera connected. I just have it sort of up here, looking down the side of the bus. Okay, so that's fine. That'll take care of itself later. As the sun comes overhead here and starts hitting that panel more, we'll be good to go. As I'm sitting out here in the sun, I'm actually not getting blasted a crazy amount. So I'm wondering now if I actually need to set up the generator or not. I'm already out here, so yeah, I might as well grab it. I've got a grabber stick right here, and I can't really see, but I can reach up and turn on the chair here. There we go. So that's turned on. We'll keep this with us. And I can back up here. You may have noticed that this is a quickie. In my opinion, these older quickie chairs, this is the only thing they're good for, is moving around equipment. And they're not even necessarily very good at that. Although, I did hear that they've redesigned some stuff on the newer quickie power chairs, and they're not nearly as susceptible to moisture and water and stuff like that like they were before. I just personally don't know anyone that uses a quickie, and I almost never see them for sale. So it's just not something that I have in my inventory or fleet of chairs to look at. Typically I set this thing up back here because it will be in the shade. The sun's not nearly as powerful today, but I think we're just gonna, we're gonna leave this right here. In case you haven't seen this before, this is a 5 kilowatt surge and 3 kilowatt running output inverter generator thing mounted to a Quickie Pulse 6 base, aka the Salsa. We've got a battery charger here, we've got a cord reel, and it holds like 4.5 gallons of gasoline, and works pretty good for portable power. And it can charge its own chair base that I'm moving around on. So let's get this fired up here, turn on the fuel, pull off our power strip here, which we're gonna need. Set the choke, turn the thing. Then it's gonna go through its self-check. That thing is fairly quiet for what it is. I had to run back inside to grab the keys for the luggage bag because one of my extension cords is in there. So I combined the trip. I need to take this garbage out anyways, so we're doing that. And there's our extension cord. By the way, you may remember me purchasing this generator last summer. It's been working great, pretty fuel efficient and everything. The only problem is with fuel in it, this thing weighs probably 85 pounds. And granted, we're not very far from the ground here, but every night, well, every morning unloading it and every night putting it back in there, it's started getting really difficult. So I went and grabbed the power chair base mounted generator, and that's a lot easier on me. It takes a little longer and there's more steps involved, but I don't have to try and lift a giant thing. This is our cord that runs inside, so I need to hook this extension up and we'll connect it back there. Connect our cord up here. There we go, should be good. Verify our charger's actually going here. Seems to be charging. All right, cool. So we can just sit back here now and do its thing for the rest of the day. That extension cord comes up to right here. So what we need to do is actually connect the air conditioner to it. So I'll shut this down. And we can unplug this from the grid and connect it to this, which, can we do it one-handed? There we go. Now I can turn this back on. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt the compressor. It's got a 3-minute delay before it'll actually fire up. And now the generator has been deployed. We've got the air conditioner going. This thing is a variable, uses a variable compressor, and I don't think it's going to be that hot today, which means this thing isn't going to be running that hard, which means the tank of fuel that thing has should last us all day, no problem. Now I can figure out what else we're doing today. I almost forgot the most important part of connecting the generator, and that's turning the grid back on. So we'll turn on our grid charger and the connection. Wait for it.
Inverter grid on.
And then I think we'll also turn on the cooling fan that's down below. So now our battery's 26.58 volts and rising. We're still getting 466 watts from the sun, which in this instance is about 17 amps. And then those batteries will be charged up and ready to go in no time. And this temperature right here inside is actually not accurate. I have to turn on, where is it? Overhead fan. This one here. And that will keep the air circulating in here enough to actually make that air conditioner do what it's supposed to do. I don't know what the deal is with air, but it's super lazy. And seeing as how that air conditioner is pointed that way, unless we give it some like help, the air that's cold will never come up here, which is also why we have that other blower back there. Just started loading the clips into the laptop and editing. One other thing I always have to screw around with, the chassis batteries need to be charged. They haven't been charged since yesterday. That's what runs the wheelchair lift and stuff. Seeing as how we have enough overhead, I turned off the Victron charger from the grid and we're using solar to top up the batteries. So I was able to turn on the battery charger for the bus itself, and that's doing 315 watts now. It'll probably do that for the next couple hours. So once again, there's always a lot of stupid stuff that needs to be checked and monitored and adjusted and tweaked all day. Got some jerry-rig everything playing. He's testing the Samsung Z Fold Flip 6. I think my project for right now, usually what I do if there's nothing going on during a day, this is kind of one of my rest days, which is not going to be a rest day because I got to do stuff in here, but the plan is to get all this cleaned up and organized. I'm getting this computer set up for the apartment. This I'm going to mount to a wall. It's a big touchscreen all-in-one, but this is going to mount to a wall, and this is going to be like my Home Assistant dashboard and also for the security cameras and stuff. Then this one I'm getting set up. That's going to be the new editing machine. I have been editing on a laptop, which works fine. However, I've mentioned this computer before. That thing is so much faster, and the screen's a lot larger and stuff. So anyways, used computers are great. You don't have to spend much money on anything. So I'm gonna work on all this, which shouldn't take too long, I don't think. One thing I do attempt to do is keep the clutter and stuff to a minimum if I can. When you're working on projects and things, obviously stuff will get kind of all over the place, but I start getting really frustrated when I can't move around because there's a bunch of stuff on the floor or in the way. And also it helps your mental state of mind to say, oh, look how nice and tidy it is in here. Life hack for the day. Try and keep your living space organized if you can. Just from a mental factor, it oddly helps out more than you would think. Like, this has been like this for a couple days because I've been working on stuff and haven't organized anything. In the past, that's happened. Then I'll like clean it all up and I'll wake up in the morning or I'll get back from doing something later and I'm like, oh, it's like I can move around in here. It's great. So try and do that if you can. The other issue with living in a bus, I feel like I'm complaining constantly. I'm really not. I'm just explaining how this all works. But usually the bed is a staging area during the day, and this box was up there on the floor. If you're familiar with the concept of a car box, that's kind of what this is. Say your car is kind of a disaster area, you got stuff everywhere in there, and you need to go pick up someone from the airport or do something. Well, you get yourself a box and you throw everything in it. All the stuff you want, all the garbage, everything. It just goes in there, and then you deal with it later, and you can tuck this away and your car looks clean. So the bed is normally the staging area, and I forgot to clean it up last night before I got into bed. I came back here and I'm like, oh, it's all this garbage everywhere. So I just grabbed this box, threw everything on the bed in the box, and now I get to deal with that today. So yeah, car box, it's a thing. Alrighty, now it's time for lunch. So I think what we're gonna do is make some pizza pockets. It's still the middle of the day. It's about 3 o'clock now. I usually try to make sure anything that's using the toaster oven or the microwave happens in the middle of the day because it's a lot easier for the batteries to charge up and recover. The batteries have to be completely charged by the time I go to bed. Otherwise, I'm not able to charge my chair because there isn't enough overhead power left. I mean, ideally getting a diesel generator set installed in the bus would be the way to go. There's actually a spot for one right over there. But anyways, we're gonna use some of these here carb balance tortillas and make some little pepperoni pizza pockets. This is very much college dorm style food here, but you know, I'd argue that's kind of the living situation we're in right now. So we're gonna take a couple of these guys here. Then we're gonna grab some cheese. Tillamook medium for the win. And where's the pizza sauce? We got some pizza sauce. And then we've also, And we've also got some of these olives that are pre-sliced and ready to go. Oh, forgot the pepperoni. This is apparently turned into the Totally Normal cooking show. Need some music or something in the background while I'm doing this. Fortunately, you can't do that because YouTube and copyright stuff. Probably do some sauce next. And this stuff is very low sugar. It's only like 3 grams of sugar per quarter cup. And we're not going to be using that much of it, so it should be good, I think. Oh, that kind of went everywhere. So we'll just smear some of this on here. And olives. These things are really hard to open, actually. Actually, we have technology for this. There we go. Aha! Olives. Ah, come back here. One of them escaped. Remember how I was saying earlier that the bus is parked on a hill? Well, that just rolled halfway back to the front of the bus. Yeah. And I think we're ready to jam these into the toaster oven. Let's throw all this stuff back in here. Very important thing, there's this button over here on the wall, which is actually magnetic. We're going to push this and it'll turn off the grid connection. Maybe. There we go.
Inverter grid off.
So we got our audio confirmation there. I get a notification on my watch too when that happens. I've got an automation set up so that if something pulls too much power, it'll just disconnect the grid. Because if I'm not here and that happens, I don't really want to start blowing breakers. My power comes from a nearby building that I can't access. So if we do blow a breaker in there, that's, yeah, not the best thing in the world. So we'll get these on here. And we'll set this. One of the reasons this was at Goodwill, these knobs don't always work, so just give them a spin. There we go. We'll go to bake, convection. We'll set this to like, I don't know, 400 degrees. And time's not going to take very long. I'm going to sit here and probably monitor it. I'm going to turn around behind me, look at my indicator lights to make sure that the inverter's off before we fire this thing up. Then, there we go. By the way, since the clip earlier, I found a little miniature power strip, and I've hooked this water filter and that fan up top there, the circulation fan, to that. I think you can see it back there. So now we can actually use the fan and the toaster oven and everything all at the same time, because, you know, I don't know why I didn't do that like 2 years ago, but anyways, this thing is preheating now, and pretty soon we'll have some sort of food, some eatables, something. While our toaster oven's working back there, we have the grid charger turned on, then we also have the solar panels. So the grid charger's putting about 16 amps into the batteries, and we're getting about 407 watts off the solar panels, which is about 15 amps. So we're getting like 30 some odd amps going into the batteries. I have to disconnect the grid because that toaster oven pulls more power than the, keep that light reflecting. The toaster oven pulls more power than my grid feed can handle. So the inverter's running and we're just backing it up with the grid charger, which doesn't pull as much power, and also the solar. We're getting some food here. It's looking greasy and delicious. Oh yeah. Once again, we're parked on a hill, so the cheese tends to try and escape, so I have to open this every so often and poke it back in so it doesn't drip down onto the heating elements. Okay, I think we should be good. So let's grab a plate here. We'll turn our inverter grid back on using our button.
Inverter grid on.
Get audio confirmation, and we can just kind of do one of these. Oh yeah, that's some quality eats right there, let me tell you. All right, we're gonna let this cool a little bit so I can actually eat it. Oh, I need a beverage. Let's do raspberry buble. Then I head up front and watch some TV shows while I'm eating. I have to watch some sort of entertainment, whether it's YouTube or TV shows or something, while I'm eating. It's one of those weird things with the Tourette's. Like, it gets super bad if I'm not distracting my brain with something. So anyways, I'm gonna go stare at this for a while and wait for it to cool so I can eat it.
I hate waiting for food to cool, but anyways, I'll be back.
And then once again, because everything's downhill and you can see our drink is trying to escape, I have a memory position on this chair set up for when I'm eating, specifically in the bus. It tilts me back, brings my feet up a little ways, and gets this lap desk so that it's level. And then I just hold my thumb on that while we're heading up front here. Green light should come on when we're in the right position. There we go. And now I just fit under the desk here. And we're good. I will admit though, I'm probably gonna miss this view. This is a pretty aesthetically pleasing area to have a window. But I'm kind of excited to be getting into that apartment, and I'm working on getting everything all set up and planning everything out. It's actually kind of funny. I've been having trouble like getting to sleep at night because my brain starts thinking about stuff, and I'm going through my head of all the planning, how I'm going to arrange the furniture and the floor plan and all this stuff. But today's Tuesday. I should be getting the keys Friday or Saturday, I believe. They're just finishing up some sheetrock work, getting some grab bars installed, removing doors and door casings in a few different spots. So yeah, I need to start. So I built all this stuff, all this electrical stuff in here. I'm just realizing now, it's been 3 years. I've made a lot of changes. I don't really know how to shut everything down in here. I'm gonna have to go through and actually draw up some sort of manual or schematics for everything I've installed here. I labeled some of it, but then a lot of the fuse box, or the fuses and the fuse boxes are not labeled. So I'm gonna have to go through and do all that, because after a while and after kind of modifying and changing a bunch of stuff, it's a little hard to remember. But yeah, full-time living in this, we're kind of winding down here. So it hasn't really hit me yet. But as we get closer to the end of this week, and I think once I finally get handed the keys for the new place, then yeah. And again, we're keeping this bus. It's going to be used for road trips and also a backup living space. Before I do road trips, though, I'm going to have to do a few maintenance-y things. There's a power steering system leak I'm going to have to fix. And then also I need to get tires on this thing. The ones on here, well, the tread's a little low, but also they're like 15 years old. So definitely need replacing on all those before we put any sort of miles on this thing. And now we're going to run some garbage and recyclables outside while we're out there. We're going to check on the fuel level in the generator, and then also see if that security camera power bank thing is actually charging or not. The sun is now roughly directly in front of that panel. Let's see what we're getting here. Okay, we're up to 19%, and we're getting about 12 watts of input right now. So, all right, cool. This thing should recover. Moral of the story, don't leave the camera in live preview mode all day. Like I said, that was kind of an experiment I was just trying anyways, but now we know. Oh, and I do have a temperature sensor in here as well that alerts me if it gets too hot in this van because, you know, giant lithium battery. Skipping forward in time, we've gotten a fairly decent amount of organization done here. The floor is all clear. But if you notice, we have a pretty solid amount of sunlight blasting in through this window. And that's going to affect the temperature in here quite a bit. So unfortunately, we get to close the blinds. And we'll turn up this light all the way. And then we can turn on... Oh no, the ceiling lights aren't working. What happened there? Might be an update that needs to be done. But we can go back here and turn on the ceiling lights so we have a little more daylight of sorts in here. Organization's gone pretty well though. Got a bunch of stuff put away. I think at this point I'm going to fire up that computer, and I think I need to restore a backup on there and do a bunch of updates and stuff, and we'll just continue on with the day. Like I said, this is a rest day where I very rarely actually sit and do nothing, but this is about as close as we get. Okay, we got the ceiling lights fixed now. I can use this toggle to turn them on and off. I forgot I was doing some troubleshooting with a few other Bluetooth things, but we're back up and running. I just got an alert on one of the cameras, and I was looking out back, and there's some sort of fishy character back there. So let's see what's going on. Yeah, the person moved on. Someone rode by on a bicycle that was holding a whole bunch of garbage bags. That's one of the reasons I don't like leaving the generator back here behind the bus, because it's visible from the street, and people that are running by looking to obtain things can see it real easily. So usually by the time it gets dark outside, I'll move that thing around. But also, let's be honest, it's a 600-pound generator mounted to like a 300-pound chair base, and they can't turn it on and drive it around, and everything's attached, so stealing it would be a little bit tricky. But then at the same time, years ago, I knew someone that had a 75-horse air compressor that was stolen from their shop while he was on vacation. Someone rented a forklift to come steal the air compressor. So people are dedicated, that's always a thing. But anyways, always stuff I'm thinking about. It'll be nice to just go inside, close the door, and not have to worry about stuff. Soon, the end of this week. I'm starting to get really excited. Oh, and in case you're wondering what's going on with this van, you may have noticed it's still here. This is the, what year is this thing? I think it's 2002. But 4350, it's got a wheelchair van, drop floor, all that good stuff. This is the one that needs an engine. It does still run and drive, but it goes through coolant extremely quickly. I think what I'm gonna do now, because I have the new diesel van and it's been reliable, I think what I'm gonna do at this point is just pay someone to throw a junkyard engine in this thing. That way it'll run and drive. Originally, I was gonna get the motor completely replaced so it was brand new, because if that was gonna be my only vehicle, I would need it to be 100% reliable. But now, since it's just gonna be a backup vehicle, I can just save a bunch of money, have a junkyard engine thrown in there, and we should be fine. I can't sell this thing for really what it's worth, and the body's really nice on it. I need to wash it, but the body and the conversion are really nice, and it does work as a wheelchair van, and I've already got it, so, you know, that's gonna be the plan. I'm gonna store it somewhere in the meanwhile until I get money saved up to do that, but it makes a great storage unit while I'm here, that's for sure. It's almost 7 p.m. and this is the hottest part of the day. You can see here, Home Assistant's registering basically 82 in here. This is where I'll just put on wireless headphones or something and play some TV shows or something to watch. Then I come back here. If we look at this thermometer, you can see it's 82 in here. It's 81 outside. This is the temperature sensor for Home Assistant. But if we come back here behind the air conditioner, you can see it's a cool 76 degrees. So normally I'll just sit right here, right next to the air conditioner, and put something on the computer to watch, or maybe I'll just grab the laptop and do some work while I'm sitting right here. But it's probably about an hour to 90 minutes from now, when the sun starts going down over the hill, that it'll rapidly start cooling off in here. This is also the part of the day where if I need to go run any errands or anything, I just do that, because if I leave for an hour or so, then it starts cooling down and the AC will bring the temperature down in here. So actually, come to think of it, I need to run to a mini mart to grab a couple of things. So perhaps we will do that. Just got back from doing a little bit of running around. It's about 8:45 now, and things are starting to cool off. So we should be good to head back in there, and the sun is just about to drop over the hill. And by the way, all of this nonsense and having to monitor power and all this stuff, well, it does still apply in the wintertime, but it is a lot worse in the summer. The pellet stove over here doesn't require nearly as much power to operate. It's only about 500 to 600 watts to power up, and that's while it's igniting, which is maybe 5 minutes at the very most. Then it only pulls about 50 watts while it's in operation. So I can have that thing set up to run automatically, turn itself on and off based on the temperature sensors, and we don't have to worry about overloading the grid feed or anything like that. The air conditioner pulls at the minimum about 600 watts and all the way up to about 1400. So that's what makes things a little more tricky with that. It's about 9:45 at night, and I gave up and decided to order some Uber Eats. The driver is almost here. So I'll grab some food here real quick and continue on with things. Well, the headlights on this chair make a weird pattern on the ground. Now we've got our food. Yeah, it's cool enough out here pretty good. I'm pretty sure by the time I'm done eating dinner, we'll be able to shut down the air conditioner and get that generator put away. Like I said, it's almost 10 o'clock right now. Ah, it's so nicely organized in here now. See what I'm saying? It's great to like keep stuff decluttered. By the way, we got the backup restored on that computer, so that thing will be ready to go as soon as we move into the apartment. We can start using that for editing. And yeah, we have I actually can't remember what I ordered. When I logged onto the app to order food, it said, "Warning, this restaurant's closing in 3 minutes." So I just started mashing buttons and a bag of food arrived. It is now 10:30 and I've finished consuming my food. Temperature in here is 72, outside is 65. So I think at this point we're ready to shut down the air conditioning and we can go pack up the generator and put it back in the van. I'm gonna wait for this to turn off though. Then before I forget, I'm going to unplug this from the generator and plug it back into the grid. Otherwise I will forget. And then in the morning, when I go to turn it on again, it won't work. And that gets annoying. Now we can turn on our ventilation blower for outside. See, turn off the circulation fan, turn on the ventilation blower. This thing fires up. We're gonna turn the fan up quite a ways. Get some of the cold air outside moving through here. It is pretty dark outside. Luckily this wheelchair has headlights on it. Then we can scurry over here and shut down this noisy thing. The only obnoxious thing is the amount of bugs out here. They see the headlights on my chair and just start flocking to them. And usually I use the remote start here on the other van. Since we're using the lift, we don't want the battery to go dead. And also gives us a little bit of light. Yeah, that thing's only running on 7 cylinders. And like I was saying this morning, it is a little more work to move this thing around. Or rather, it takes more time. But it's still easier than lifting that other generator in and out of the luggage bay on the bus. Got that thing all loaded up. And I think that's all we need to do out here. That'll do. Well, back to the inside. I just got back inside. It's been a few minutes. Just realized something. Remember how I said earlier, this bus is like living in a giant heat sink? Well, the whole thing's been heating up during the day. We just turned off the AC. We've got the ventilation blower running. Now all that hot air that's soaked into the chassis of this bus is getting blown back in here. And we're up to 73 degrees in here again. And running the ventilation blower is just making it warmer. So, there is one little trick I have up my sleeve that I figured out not too long ago. Seeing as how the batteries are now fully charged, they're in storage mode now, 27.68 volts. What we can do is turn off the chassis battery charger and then the inverter battery charger. And if you notice here, we're only currently pulling 451 watts, which leaves us just enough headroom to run this AC unit in a mode that I didn't know it had until last week. If you turn this on and hit this quiet button, it runs the compressor at the lowest speed possible and the fan at the lowest speed possible, and it only pulls about 500 to 600 watts. Now granted, that's not going to give us very much cooling at all, but seeing as how we don't have heat coming in from outside and our temperature isn't really that high, this will help. As this thing starts ramping up, you can see here we're pulling 886 watts, and that'll probably go up to around 1,000 watts or so and level off.
We're going to turn off the ventilation blower. It makes it a lot quieter in here. And then we're going to turn on the rear circulation fan. Then the little bit of cold air that thing's spitting out will get blown up this direction and we should be good. Again, I'm not complaining. There's just a lot of limitations and factors with all this that get really, really tiring after a while. If I had a 20 amp feed from that building, none of this would be an issue. But anyways, we've survived 3 years. Well, actually, it's going to be 3 years next month, I believe. So it's crazy how time flies. I think at this point, we're going to be good for the night. I'll probably want to say a few more things to the camera in the morning. So unless something happens that is worthy of me telling the camera about, we'll, words. We'll call it a night. So I'll see you in the morning. Good news. I just got into bed and the temperatures in here are suddenly reasonable. It's 57 outside and 68 in here. So that's perfectly acceptable. Like 63 or 65 would be better in here, but hey, that'll be enough to sleep. So, I have to watch YouTube or something as I'm falling asleep to keep my brain from doing stupid stuff, like thinking about how I'm going to lay out the new apartment constantly. Yes, I will see you in the morning. Oh, hey, it's the next morning. So, it's we're basically just going to repeat everything we did yesterday. I've got a bunch of running around to do today, though, so it's not as critical to keep it, super cold in here. And realistically, I can just... there's bugs. If I'm not going to be here, I won't have the computer on, and usually I'll turn off the ice maker as well. And that reduces the power draw on the inverter batteries quite a bit. So when I get back later on, I can just set up the generator for maybe 3 or 4 hours and the batteries will recover. And worst case scenario, I can just not charge my chair if need be. But yeah, I think getting a diesel generator set would definitely solve all of these issues. They're like $5,000 or $6,000 though. There's a spot in the engine bay that I could mount one. So I don't know. Eventually that may happen. Like I said, we're keeping this thing. I know I keep saying that, but we're going to continue building stuff, get the kitchen and the bathroom set up, and I would like to get the shower. I mean, the bathroom already functions, obviously, but I'd like to eventually get one of those diesel generators in here, and then this thing would be pretty much autonomous. We have a 300-gallon diesel tank, so we definitely have plenty of space for fuel. Anyhow, hopefully you enjoyed, and it was a small window into this particular living situation. Obviously, things could be set up a little bit differently, but with me building stuff as I go and changing things over time, and then having a limited amount of grid power available, this is how I figured out to make stuff work. And after 3 years, I'm tired. I want to be able to just go into a building, close the door, hit a button, the AC comes on, and fall asleep. I'll be able to do that soon. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. And I'll catch you tomorrow on the live stream.